So we're just trying to get the live stream together, Andrew. Looks like we are. Let me see if I can share it. Oh yeah, here we are. Wait, I'm not seeing anything though on my phone. Oh, I am.
Which one are you sharing it on? Facing Homelessness?
It's super slow. I guess I'm gonna. Okay, it's working, but I'm gonna share. Yeah, I'm gonna share it from my group, and then you guys.
Let me see.
Sorry, everybody, we're a little late, and on top of that, we've never done the live stream, so we had to figure that out. I had to do a YouTube video really quickly before we started. So,
while you're figuring that out, I'll just do quick introductions and kind of tell everybody why we're here. So we're just trying to get this shared to the right groups on Facebook right now, but we are the Antioch Homeless Coalition. I'm Lacey. I'm with Justice Advocates and Resources. We have Nicole Gardner with Facing Homelessness, Andrew Becker with Here Today, Home Tomorrow, and Mariah with This Active Art. So we are, usually we don't do live streamed meetings. We post usually on Tuesdays. We record our meetings every other Monday. We just recorded a meeting yesterday, I believe it was, with guest speaker Ellie Householder. That went really well. This is not an official AHC meeting. This is more of a group discussion that we wanted to live stream and kind of have with the public, because we watched the press conference earlier today in Antioch, and we all were having a private discussion, and we felt like we need to start having these discussions with the community and, you know, being honest about how we feel about these things. And so this is our first time kind of being vulnerable in that way and sharing it with all of you, because this is, I think, something that's really important that everybody be in the know about, that everybody know how we feel. And we're hoping that this won't be any longer than, I'd say like 20 minutes would be pretty long, but yeah, so thank you. If you're someone who's tuning in, I'm going to make sure that I share this really fast before we get started. Hold on one second. So on your profile, Nicole, are you sure that it's public? Because when I go to Facing Homelessness, I see that you shared it, but it says this content is not available.
I think you're on mute, Nicole.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so it should be the one I just shared should be public. And thank you, Lacey, for catching that.
It's working now. We're all good.
Okay, great. I'm just gonna be kind of keeping an eye just in case there are any questions or anything.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay. So
do we
today,
say that? Do we gotta say that whole thing again? Because
it should be. People will be able to go back and watch. People will be able to go back and watch the whole thing as well. So
okay, great.
Nicole, do you want to talk about the press conference today? What was announced before we get into it?
Yeah, so we definitely, I was thinking that, you know, maybe playing the video during the meeting, but I was like, nah, that's too long. It's like 20 minutes long. But we definitely can put a link to the video, the mayor's video press conference in the comments. below. So we'll do that. Or even in the I can edit this post and put it in the post as well. So yeah, so to all of our, a lot of who don't know, we did recently lose a unhoused friends of ours on the streets by the train. He ended up getting hit by the train down at Amtrak, and our coalition, we did put together a visual for him. Family came out, it was beautiful. There was like 100 people there. It was really beautiful. And we were also advocating during that time for restrooms because this disabled man, Louie Rocha, he was basically trying to get to the restroom when he was struck by the train. And so we were out there, advocating and things like that. And then the mayor did speak. They were doing a ribbon cutting for the city at the same time that we were doing the visual. So he was there anyway, and he just came out and said a few words to the family or whatever. And so they did have a press conference today to, just, he was kind of going over, he had the family there, was kind of going over, am I going to talk about the whole thing? I'll make it short. I'm going to try to make it short.
Yeah, basically just like what he was announcing.
Yeah, because I don't want to go. So yeah, basically just saying, that the city is having this, they're having I forget what they're naming it the Louie Rocha. What was it, Andrew? Louie Rocha.
Yeah, I don't know if there was an official title that had been announced, but yeah, it was an interim housing program that would be named in Louie Rocha's honor.
Right. And so, just after, because you guys will get a chance to look at the video, so I don't really have to go into deeper. I just want us to kind of give our opinions and we can have discussion on what we thought about the video. But so initially when I watched it and saw the family there, I was like, just like, what's going on, whatever. I know the family was really angry the night of the visual, and as we all were with the city, because we were just advocating for freaking restrooms or whatever, and saying that these are the things that the in-house folks on the streets need. And so initially I was like, just looking. Then they started talking about, the different, they were getting these people into this, the executive inn, and they did some outreach or whatever. And so I'm listening, I'm going through the whole thing, and I'm just like, okay. Then I start feeling myself getting really irritated for some reason, but not really understanding why, because they did say that they did get like 22 of our friends on the streets downtown into this program. And I was happy, but then I was like, why am I feeling like this? Like, you know what I mean? I was just like, why am I feeling like this? I was feeling so confused. And then just going deeper into it, the unhoused resident coordinator, when she starts speaking, and then I'm just like, okay, you guys did some outreach. Okay, that's great. And you guys, talked to folks, got some folks in there. And just by the end of the meeting, I was really just like, I don't want to say emotional at the time, but then eventually I did get emotional because I watched it like 3 times. But I think what I really got from it, I think one of the things, and then I'll kind of let everybody else we'll kind of discuss a little bit of everything how we felt about it. One of the things that really stuck out for me is, one of the main things that really stuck out for me is when the mayor was saying that, we're going to put these people into, these 20-something people into, housing, but at the same time, we can't have people living by Amtrak. And then I'm like, okay. So to me, it just felt like, although they did this in Louie's name, and the 15 or 20 people that they did get into this program that were friends of his, I was thinking, what about the other 30 that are over there? And I just really felt as though, like, to me, it was really frustrating, and I got angry because although I think this is great, I'm so happy. I just talked to my friend Kenny tonight before this meeting, and I was like, I'm so happy for y'all that y'all able to get in there, but the advocates do have concerns. And he said, I totally agree. You know, he agreed. And so my thing is, what about the folks that are still down there? And it felt as though he just really gave the red light for code enforcement and for APD to say to criminalize homelessness even more for the people that are in these areas. So when we think about Louie and his friends, and this is in his name, I know that that for sure is something that he would not want for the rest of his friends that are down there, down at Amtrak, being told like, oh, you cannot be here, but we don't have anywhere else for you to go. And so to me, that was really frustrating and made me so angry that and then saying that the advocates and community members cannot even serve down there. So my thing is that if you guys take care of this issue downtown, there wouldn't be anybody to serve. There would be no reason to serve. There's no reason why advocates are not, unhoused folks downtown at Amtrak are not going to Amtrak because advocates are coming down there to serve them. It's the other way around. We are down there because this is where they are. And so that was just one thing that really caught when I listened to him, that really caught my attention. And there are many other things, and I would like to discuss those too. But that was one thing that really caught my attention and made me angry. Anyone else?
I think I just want to like preface this with, I feel like the first initial reaction people might have to what we are going to be saying in this video is, well, gosh, they're never going to be satisfied with anything, or they're always going to find something to complain about. And so the way that I want to preface this video is absolutely nothing new was announced in this press conference. Essentially, the sensationalism of this tragedy was grasped by someone who really loves to put his face on the news, and something that has already been going on in Antioch was reintroduced in a way that is going to enable them to criminalize homelessness more. And what I mean by that is, we have had the motel voucher program where unhoused residents can get short, maximum 7-day stays in the Executive Inn already. And the plan to, have this whole Motel 6 partnership has been in the works. In fact, at the vigil, Mayor Thorpe announced to everybody, we've been working on this for 2 years. Next week, I'm going to be announcing, how we're partnering with the Motel 6 for, rich housing. And so that was kind of the first thing that I wanted to point out was, it was presented today in a way that seemed like, oh my gosh, they really responded to this tragedy really quickly and came up with a solution that's, really great. And I am not against getting people into motel rooms. I'm never against getting people sheltered, even a little bit sheltered, even a few people. None of us are against that. And we have all, shared our feelings about the bridge housing, Motel 6 Project Room Key in our meetings previously. And so I didn't want anyone to go through watching this meeting feeling like, well, gosh, they're just never going to be satisfied with anything, because we are very critical of what happened today. And I just wanted to clear that up before we started, pretty much.
Yeah, thank you, Lacey and Nicole. And I definitely wanted to also, add to that, like Lacey said, this is a program that has been in the works for a while. And when we talk about the city of Antioch spending money and the city allocating funds towards different programs, we think about two things, or we should think about two things. We need to think about scale, and we need to think about impact. And this program that was brought forward today in a partnership with the county, this is $300,000 that the city is going to be paying out of the city's general fund to the county for supportive services. To me, the crucial takeaway from this is the city of Antioch is going to be paying funds to the county for services that the county already has a responsibility to provide. The city of Antioch is going to be paying to reserve 15 beds at that facility solely for Antioch residents. As the East County Interim Housing Facility, the newly formed East County Interim Housing Facility, we have to say that this is a time where we need to look at fiscal responsibility and what we can do. One second, please. And we have to say to each other, what is the biggest impact? Now, I myself managed to get down to the Amtrak at the end of this press conference. I was standing across the street from Amtrak, and we're talking about housing and restroom needs. The Amtrak building that used to be there is no longer there. It was taken away because of the unhoused. Restrooms that were there for the unhoused were taken away. Critical, necessary, vital, basic human rights that people have been stripped from them. Supportive services, emergency shelter services have not been provided. The city of Antioch is tomorrow going to the Planning Commission in the hopes of creating a whole new, an entirely new zoning designation, TH, transitional housing designation. The issue with that is that, I'm so sorry, you guys, I'm here in my front room. The issue with that is that we have already an emergency shelter zoning overlay in place. The city is moving past emergency shelter services and immediate facilities for people to get into, and just bypassing that and moving towards transitional housing solutions. Going forward, we have to say, what is the proper steps to take? Why are we putting the cart before the horse here? When we look at those 15 beds and that $300,000, and we look at what the assistant city manager literally said at the press conference, that the average turnaround for a person to get into that and to move into permanent housing is about 120 days. If we do the quick math, at a year contract, 120 goes into 365, about three times the 15 beds. We're talking about 45 beds in a year. 45 beds. One second, please. I'm so sorry, guys. Please, just 1 second. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm here in the front room and it's dinner time, so we have a lot of stuff going on here. But I, this is very important, and I want to give it the time. And I really wanted to say that 45 beds within a year does not even closely meet the need of our point in time count. The folks down near the tracks, like Nicole was saying, the true amount of people that need help are not 15 individuals. And as this press conference is taking place, an unhoused resident that we have been working with for years now, and is a longtime resident, is sitting across the street while this press conference is taking place, is not properly clothed, doesn't have access to proper hygiene or basic needs or rights. And when this press conference finished and I stepped across the street to talk to the unhoused resident coordinator and said, this individual is open to getting into the motel program. How can we get that started? 2 minutes after this program had been released to the public in this press conference, I was told there's a wait list. We haven't even designated funding yet. The city council hasn't even voted for this program to happen. And already there's no room for people to get in. And for that individual to be told 120 days is about how long you're looking. If the person before you does really good, maybe we can get you in sooner, is not realistic. This is people's emotions, their mental health. It's not right. And while the city falls short, and I'm talking to this individual, a kind, caring, compassionate member of this community stepped forward, started a dialogue with me and this unhoused resident, heard what this unhoused resident needed. And not an hour after I had left, I received an email through my website that this individual had partnered with another community member, had brought clothes and food for this individual, and was willing to offer their own personal time and resources to help that person. As a community, we demand more. As a city, we can do more. And for our unhoused friends on the street, we are owed more. And I know that all of us here are fed up with hearing that we are doing the best that we can, because partnering neighborhoods, the city of Mountain View, and I will promote this project until my face turns blue. The city of Mountain View, in capitalizing in home key funding, took on a project that created 130 beds, came in ahead of schedule, under budget, received a personal commendation from the governor of California. And in one single swoop, that project took out 55% of their point in time count. They were able to move over a half of the individuals on their streets right then and there into permanent housing, with the hopes that within the next 4 to 6 months, they could get reach to the other individuals. And when we hear that our staff doesn't have capacity, that there's no direction given, we have to rally as a community, and we have to say, how can we all step in and make this possible? What can we do to help our city officials? What can we do to help our elected officials to make this happen? But most importantly, to demand that it happens. Because when we hear that home key round 2 funding timeline is just too aggressive, and we're halfway through the application process, so it just doesn't seem like a real possibility, that's very frustrating, because this is home key round 2. We missed out on home key round 1. We missed out on ESG CV2, ESG CV1. We are talking about almost $1 billion that the city of Antioch has turned away from because they are not interested in it right now. And that is not free money. We all know that. It does come with caveats. And the one caveat that it comes with that's most important is that you help the people in need. So that's what my organization and all of our organizations are pushing for: more solutions, safe parking programs, pallet shelter communities, home key funded projects. Let us open up our phone books, our checkbooks, and let's create a collaboration and a dialogue with our community. And let us bring an impactful project to our community, so that the next time a press conference takes place to help house unhoused residents, an unhoused resident doesn't have to sit across the street and watch that and know that they will not be one of those members served.
Yeah, before like we move on past that, for anybody watching, not the meeting that we just recorded yesterday, but our last meeting with Council Member Torres Walker as our guest. We did discuss home key funds, had a lot of discussion about that if you want to know more. And Andrew, from what I understand, your conversation with them down at the press conference today, the city of Antioch right now has absolutely no plans to look into that any further. In fact, they're ready to completely deny participating, correct?
Zero interest. Yes. Also, for our community, I just really wanted to add that my organization Here Today, Home Tomorrow is working with a affordable housing developer that has put 4 or 5 transitional housing modular communities on Caltrans and VTA sites for the city of Antioch in the last 2 years. That's creating in total somewhere in the range of 240 to 260 homes for unhoused residents. And that developer just a week and a half ago came up to Antioch to meet with me and the mayor of Antioch to eagerly express their interest in working on a project and partnering with the city on home key funds. And I actually just spoke with that developer today. And in light of the situation and the aggressive timeline, that developer is working with their architectural design partners, and they're bringing together a tentative entitlement map as well as a initial site rendering for that project to help show our city officials, our county officials, what possibilities there are for that site. That type of project or that type of work to create those site renderings and tentative maps is about $1,500 worth of work that this developer is going to do free of charge for the city of Antioch. We have developer partners that are willing at their own cost and expense to create solutions for the city to take on that burden for the city. So thank you so much for that, Lacey. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Andrew. Mariah, did you have anything to say about the conference today?
Oh yeah. Listening to all of you speaking, it's amazing how much information you all have, and especially, about the budgets and all the new the ideas. And it's all exciting news, and I know that we can get there. I definitely believe in that. When it comes to the video watching, we kind of spoke on this already, but the mayor speak about how it's unsafe to live there. And I think one of the things that makes it so unsafe is because of all the materials that are taken away from the homeless. So they have to go deeper and deeper into behind the Amtrak to hide. And I think that's, that just shows how helpless and people are to their circumstance to have to be in a situation where their life is in danger. And there's been many people who have been hit by the train before. And so just, thinking about the fact that they are even risking their lives to be in that position shows like how poorly treated they are when they are in the public. And why getting more people, the rest of people out into transitional housing, or Andrew, like you were saying, the areas that are already set in place for emergency shelter that could house way more people. That's just something that is so important. So, it addresses it actually is a solution instead of just putting 15 people or 20 people in a hotel. And something that kind of was a little bit upsetting was saying how, these are the people that are doing the groundwork when, it's for advocates hard to actually get a hold of these people and to actually get a lot of assistance. And, the groundwork are the advocates who are, spending their own money or their own time. And, and when we leave people in the hotel, we make sure they have food, they have water, they have access to things, clothes. They're not just dropped off And I think, you know, I don't know, Nicole, if you mentioned that right now a lot of people aren't really getting support once they're in the hotel. So if you want to speak on that, I'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Mariah. Yeah, so thank you for mentioning that too, because I did hear the unhoused resident coordinator say that, and that was very frustrating to me, because my thing is that, you know, they've had this motel voucher program for quite a while now, almost a year. And when we were participating in providers for that program, we were trying to get folks like Louie, disabled folks, you know, people into the motel voucher program that, you know, just needed a break or a rest out of the cold or the heat or whatever. And we went through hell with this unhoused resident coordinator. Like, they needed an exit plan. Oh, what's your exit strategy? Well, we're a small organization, you know, people just need to rest. People just need to get, they just have this encampment suite. And so they need to be able to, you know, get their mind together just to have this motel would be, you know, great for them. And it was like, you know, we were told many of times, well, you got to have an exit strategy for them, or they have to have an exit plan. When in a lot of times there is no exit plan. The county can barely come up with an exit plan for folks because of the lack of resources that they have and that they have said that they have. So it's very difficult dealing with that. And then too, you know, being the providers, you know, I think the city, they like to take a lot of credit for a lot of the things that advocates and community members do. And working with that motel voucher program, providing the meals, providing the breakfast, lunch, and dinner to folks, providing the clothing, providing the toiletries, going to check on them at the motel, trying to be caseworkers when we really weren't, but we just knew that we wanted to help folks and try to see if we can figure out, you know, if they had family members or whatever. And the city just, you know, took all the credit for that, ran with it, and then and made it hard for us to get folks in there. So when Jasmine today was saying, you know, they did the footwork and they were out, that's some bullshit. I'm just gonna keep it real with you, because that's something that they should have been doing in the first place. We should have not had to have this tragedy happen before you decide to get off your ass and go out there and do outreach and try to get folks into that motel, which they did. And what did they do? They end up dropping them off, and that's exactly where they are right now. They dropped them off. No food, no water, no toiletries, no clothing, no nothing. So us again, I made arrangements, letting some folks over there know that, you know, we'll come through with the toiletries, we'll come through with some food tomorrow for y'all. We got y'all back, whatever. But it's super irritating. It really is irritating, because they could have had our boy Louie in that motel. That pisses me off. That they could have done that, and they should have been doing the outreach to get these folks in this motel in the first place. We should have not come to this in order to get folks into this motel, which, like you guys already said, was already taking place. And even with the county, with the Motel 6, they already have. I can post a video for the city council meeting that they already had this stuff in place. This is not something new that happened. So the only thing new here that's really happened is that Antioch and the mayor has decided that we go, once again, make sure that all these people that are over here have nowhere to go. And we're gonna have, I think he said, code enforcement and APD enforce, strongly enforced, making sure that people are not by the track when they don't have nowhere for them to go. And I'm just telling y'all now, I don't know if it was a threat, because it kind of sounded like a threat to me for advocates and community members, but Nicole Gardner will be out on Wednesday for whoever wants some food or whoever is out there. Y'all may have to bail me out, because I might have to just go to jail on this one for the team. But in all reality, that really pissed me off, and it really sucked. It really sucked that they did that. And again, like I said, those folks over there right now tonight have no food. They're trying to come together with the little resources and monies that they have to get some, you know, get money and food and gather stuff like that. So any community members, you know, those folks over there, they really could use your help. If you have, you know, clothing or toiletries or whatever too, you definitely can reach out to any one of us in the coalition, and we can definitely make sure we get that stuff out there to those folks. Again, this is not I am happy that our friends are in the motel. We all are. We just don't like, I just personally don't like how everything went down. And it just seems to be, just being into politics, it just seems to be very political um, driven. And I think it's up to us. It was really hard for us, I know, when we first talked about it, because um, we don't want to take away. We were thinking about the Rocha family. You know what I mean? I know I was. I was thinking about the Rocha family, like, maybe I shouldn't say this, or maybe we shouldn't let the community know. But that's what being in this coalition is really all about, is transparency and letting the community know what's going on. Because when you think that people are, oh, we're doing this because of this, like, that's not even the case. And I really think that it's really it really is up to us to let the community know what's going on. If anybody has any other thoughts.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I just really quickly wanted to throw in there too. I think that transparency is really key. And the city, whether they have looked into other options or are looking into other options, there's no clear dialogue with our community. There's no clear dialogue with our nonprofits or our advocates. And the frustrating part about that is that, once again, the Contra Costa County 10-year plan to end homelessness, the now updated 2023 Antioch housing element, all stipulate how the city and the county are to work with local nonprofits on affordable housing solutions and emergency shelter housing solutions. And when I've had conversations, we talk transparency, I've had conversations. The latest update I've heard is that the city, and I'll just put it out there for the whole community to hear. The latest update I've heard is that Delta Fair site that the city sold to the county for $1, the city sold that property to the county for $1 to create an emergency care warming facility, 24/7 facility with on-site transitional housing, okay, permanent supportive housing. What happened was Home Key round 1 came out, and the county chose to apply for funds to purchase the Motel 6 that they were leasing through Project Room Key. They chose to move into a purchase option. And so what happened was they took the money that was set aside for that care center over on Delta Fair here in Antioch, and they just reallocated it. They just moved it over to that East County interim housing facility in Pittsburgh there. So there were no current plans. There was still a long-term goal for a warming facility there in Antioch, but there were no current plans or projects in the works. The city made an agreement with the county that if the county was to not use that property, it would come back to the city. So the county is now looking into putting pallet shelters there. I came forward to the county 12 to 18 months, the county and the city, and said, right across the street and at that site there, right across at either one of those seats there or the city-owned property where they do the pumpkin patch every year, there's an emergency shelter zoning overlay in place, and we can put pallet shelters there. I spoke with pallet shelters in Washington and said, what does it take to get them here? They said, you know what, we're actually shipping to Berkeley in the next couple of weeks. If you'd like, we can work it out to have one of those units brought out to Antioch and put in front of their city hall, and the mayor and council can walk around and look at it and see if that's a fit for the community. When I spoke with the assistant city manager, her response to that idea and that project was, that's not a possibility. It doesn't fall within the Antioch Housing Code, which is something that could be amended. That's a council-driven action, but it was just set aside and said, we're not going to do anything with it. When I've now worked towards this Home Key project at this site, what I'm being told is that's not a possibility for the city to apply for Home Key funds and to put up to 160 units on that site. 160 units. We have access to over $25 million in state funding is what we can apply for. When I said, why don't we look at something with a high impact like that? Why don't we partner with the county and bring something like that there? The Antioch, the assistant city manager told me, the county is actually looking at pallet shelters temporarily there. We just went and visited a pallet shelter community, and we think it's a great idea. And did you know how cheap it is? It's just under $1 million. That's a great idea. And the reality is that it is a cheap and a great idea. The city could have been doing it on their own property. When the city talks about spending $300,000 for 15 beds for a year, the cost for 25 pallet shelters, that's 50 beds, 50 beds, 25 pallet shelters, is $246,342.46 to be shipped, delivered, and installed in the city of Antioch. And it can be done in under a month. Now, of course, that does not include on-site support services and the cost for security and whatnot. But when we look at the impact, 50 beds immediately available and the ability to spread that over a year and countless years, the turnaround and the reward is so much higher. But the city chooses their own programs, they choose their own prerogatives, their own agendas, and they push that. And so we have to settle for 15 beds now and another 15 in 120 days, give or take, when we could have a higher impact project today. And the problem is that the city is scrambling to try to figure out solutions and is not partnering with us. Lacey, sorry, I didn't mean to steal it there.
No, I wanted to, right when you said the problem is, because we're settling for something that it's like, we're always like, gosh, just do something, right? Just do something. This is them doing something, but for less money and with more collaboration with people who are willing to put in the work, we could have something better just as quickly. But what is getting in the way? Honestly, the reason that we're having this meeting is in my opinion. And so I'm gonna go on a little mini rant here, and I just want to make it clear that like I'm only speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for the rest of the people in the coalition, although some of them may agree with me, some of them may not. Honestly, watching the press conference today, I had mixed feelings because of course I'm happy that people are getting into beds right now. You know, we know the names of the people, just like Lamar was saying, we know the names of the people that are getting into those beds right now. Of course we're happy about that. But at the same time, then I'm forced to sit here and feel conflicted within myself because I'm also feeling disgusted watching this press conference. And the reason that I'm also feeling disgusted is because we just know that there's something so much better that honestly Lamar would never let happen. Lamar would never let it happen, because if it's not something that I feel like he's put a lot of work into this, this bridge housing, the motel. I respect the fact that he has worked really hard on this project and that it is coming to fruition now. But anytime, we've talked about this in the meetings, anytime we try to say, hey, maybe this would be a little bit better, we just get shut down. And this, exactly what was talked about in the press conference today, just gets shoved back in our face. And I'm honestly, with that set aside, with like all the other options set aside, let's say this was the only option, I'm still so tired. I'm so tired of watching him trick people, honestly, because it hurts me to watch people who are hurting and looking for answers and looking for a solution of any kind, and watching him swoop in with this magical thing on a pretty plate and being like, oh, look at this, you know, come come stand with me and I'm going to give you this. And it seems like such an amazing thing that he's doing. And I don't feel like that's the truth. I don't feel like that's the truth at all. Honestly, the only thing that's going to be different after today is that he has now justified the absolute horrors that are about to happen to the people that reside down on Amtrak. He has now made it impossible for us to speak out about it because we are going to look ungrateful. We are going to look like we're being uncooperative. Anybody else is going to look the same. All that has done is they come in there, they clean up the candles on Louie's memorial, they move people over, and now he's going to say, well, it's for their own safety. They have all these businesses that they're trying to bring into downtown Antioch. They want those people out of there. It doesn't look great. They don't want, unhoused residents hanging out around Amtrak. We've known that for forever. They've been trying to get rid of them for forever. And now that someone has lost their life, now it's like, oh, this is going to be a great opportunity to justify absolutely wrecking their lives, because the people who are left behind who don't get into these 15 to 22 beds, they are going to suffer, because now everyone is like, wow, well, the PD and code enforcement are teaming up with the mayor, and we're really saving their lives, and we're helping everybody down here because we're now going to move them. There are not shelters, there are not programs, there's nowhere for them to go. And now in the coldest months of the year, nobody's going to be allowed to be angry that they're getting moved around, told to leave. And then now if we even go and try to feed them, that was a warning in the press conference. I don't know anybody that publicly says, I am a homeless advocate other than Nicole Gardner. There's a ton of us that do the work, and we, there's churches and there's organizations that go and they feed and they give toiletries or they do whatever. The only person I've ever heard publicly say, I am a homeless advocate, is Nicole Gardner. And she's also the only person that I've watched say that and go feed people right where he was standing when he said, if you're an advocate and you come down here, you need to cooperate with us, essentially, and not feed people here because it's dangerous and we can't allow it to happen. That was absolutely a warning, because the police have already tried to cite people for feeding in that area and other areas. And so now it's going to be justified. And honestly, I know that he's going to be watching this. And so to you, Lamar, if you want advocates to cooperate and work together, which would be best for the people who are going to be benefiting from this program, when you have collaboration and you have, teamwork going on, stop waging war on the advocates then. What you talked about, coming to a candlelight vigil, that candlelight vigil was brought to your doorstep intentionally. These things are not photo op opportunities. They're not press conference opportunities. They're people's lives. And we don't advertise what we're doing every day out there. If you genuinely want collaboration and you genuinely want all of us to work together, then maybe sending an invitation to your press conference where you're going to be discussing the candlelight vigil that we organized that you were allowed to speak at would be a first step. Or maybe not putting a blatant threat in your speech would be a first step. I honestly, I'm really tired of this back and forth between us and the city. It's not good for anybody, especially people living on the streets, because it's frustrating. honestly, I'm so tired of it. And I'm sad that I was watching a press conference about something that we had been waiting for, and I had to have mixed feelings about it. That doesn't make me feel good. And I'm disappointed that this tragedy was used in this way, and that this information was presented in such a misleading way, because now you were publicly advocating for the things that we advocate against, and then you, like, the partnership with the motel voucher program and getting into the Motel 6, that's awesome. We could have just been like, hey, this is a great thing coming out. And to make it seem like the city swooped in and in a week after, hearing about Louie's passing, so compassionately came up with this solution and threw a bunch of money at it, it's misleading and it's not true. And to do it in such a nasty way, it really tainted a really good thing. And I'm tired of that happening. And I'm really tired of solutions that could be better for people living on the streets being blocked or being shut down because of somebody's ego or because of somebody's disagreement. Or, the city talks about needing to partner with local nonprofits. You have 4 nonprofits in this meeting right here. You have 4 teams of people sitting in this meeting right here. And 3 out of 4 of the people sitting in this meeting were the only people doing any work for the motel voucher program and getting people into the executive inn until this last week. And when we have these meetings and we're saying, like, the unhoused resident coordinator doesn't even go out and do outreach, or, the city doesn't even go out and do outreach, and then they do that, we're happy about that. Like, good job for, like, listening to feedback and making that change. Like, we're happy about that. But trying to call it something that it's not is really frustrating. And Nicole is right, because if they had been doing that since the start of the motel voucher program, instead of, oh shoot, everybody's looking at us now because somebody just lost their life and we're going to look like crap if we don't do something. No, it should have been, when the motel voucher program started, the city was putting in that amount of effort. They got 22 rooms filled. We would have trouble getting 1. We had to fight to get 1 person in there. Like, literally, we had to tell a whole life story and cry about it and be like, please, 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 this person is basically on death's doorstep. Can you please give them a voucher? That is what we were hiring. In a week, they got 22 people in there. Why were they not doing that to begin with? Like, this is the most frustrating thing I've ever heard.
Correction, I think that was one day that they just went out there and just tried to get as many people as they can, 1 or 2 days or something like that. But yeah.
That's even worse. But so, and then the last thing is, right when the press conference ended, I texted Jasmine and I said, hey, because last week she and I talked about how this was going to be coming out for the Motel 6. And I said, hey, I know that these motel vouchers are short term. The person that I was helping get into one of the short term, she has a very high risk pregnancy. She really needs some kind of shelter. She's completely unsheltered right now. Doesn't even have a tent right now. So I texted Jasmine. I was like, hey, okay, cool. This has been announced. It sounds like there's a date on it. Can we get her signed up? Already full. And we can put her on a wait list. And I said, hey, question, why is it that you guys, when you were going out and picking the 22 people who are going to get these beds, because there's a lot more than 22 people living on the streets of Antioch, why is it that there was there wasn't a text, an email, a call, anything to any advocates that I know who could probably name 90% of the people unsheltered in this city by first name why was there no partnering with any of us when you guys were deciding who's going to get these precious 22 beds? Not that anybody is more important than anyone. I would never suggest that, but I think even the people living on the streets would push people to the front of the line. They really would. There are people with medical conditions. There are people with that really urgently need this. I know that they would happily rally and push those people to the front of the line. And I asked her, why didn't you reach out to us to help with that? Because number one, there's people outside of Amtrak. And number two, you guys don't know these people. Straight up, like, why was there no partnership with any advocates or nonprofits in this area when you were making these decisions? And I got no response.
Of course you didn't. And if
I
I could just jump in really quickly, because I just wanted to say that too. I just really thought that was really hypocritical to say, and I agree with you, Lacey, that they should have reached out to us or to advocates, to other nonprofits, you know, the shower program, different people like that, to get these folks. And I think it was really hypocritical to me that I could have sworn I heard the mayor say recently, like, I was getting ready. I saw someone on the street who was having a like something mentally going on with them. And I was thinking about calling the police or APD, but I said, no, let me not do that. And, you know, let me try to handle this in a different way. But are depending on these folks that we have said have harassed our unhoused friends to get into a program like this, instead of asking advocates and nonprofits to participate. So I just thought that was ass backwards right there. And it just didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, or HMIS. You know, we have a whole system. Yeah, I completely agree with both of you. We already, through the county, have HMIS system. There are already people that here in the city that are on that intake system, have applied for housing. You know, the strongest partnership that the city seems to be able to build is with CORE. And we, you know, all know the great work that CORE does, but we also know how lacking those services can be. Right. And like Nicole and like Lacey were saying, we have local nonprofits. And that's the frustrating part, because the city is not partnering with local nonprofits that are incorporated, have their 501c3, and are working in the area in this field, and are choosing not to partner with them. And, you know, I think that really, you know, to pick up on that, like Lacey was saying, you know, I have to voice my frustrations and my personal experiences with these individuals too. You know, Here Today, Home Tomorrow brought a developer up from the city of San Jose, drove up to meet with me and the mayor of Antioch out at that county site and talk about what possibilities there were. And the mayor stands there and says to me in front of the developer, the problem is that we don't have nonprofits or local nonprofits that are working on these solutions. And I responded to the mayor, that's not true. We do. And the mayor said, well, who are they? And I said, my organization, we are that nonprofit. And the mayor looks at me and then laughs. His response is to laugh in front of this developer partner from San Jose, and to say, well, who are you? What capacity do you have? Who is your team? Do you even have a grant writer? And to hear this developer from San Jose, excuse me, softly interject and say, we have a grant writer, we can help with that, versus the own mayor in the city, a person I personally voted for and advocated and pushed for when there was this big push to help the unhoused, laugh and say, excuse me, we are not able to do that, or that's not a valid option. That's just not right. We have organizations, we have local nonprofits, whether we're one person or 10 people or 100 people, we have the passion, we have to some degree experience, and we most importantly want to be involved and to collaborate and to see where we can pick up the slack. And there's just not that return from our elected officials and our city staff. And so I completely, agree with what, Lacey and Nicole, have said, in that we need to collaborate, and we need to be those partners that are helping our unhoused. We are in no way asking to control the situation. We are in no way asking to drive the direction. We are asking to sit down and have a back and forth dialogue with progress.
I just want to say that I'm, sorry that you were treated that way, and all of you, when you have tried to bring up things to the table and have been laughed at. That's terrible, and I have had that same kind of experience. In 2019, I talked about a homeless garden because me and Nicole were talking about going to Santa Cruz because they have a huge homeless garden there, and it's kind of like what you were saying, Andrew, a developed space for the unhoused, and doing some type of work like that, and it was totally like, well, we have no one to run that, and then scoffed as if I'm this unintelligent person. And that's always how I'm treated. Like I'm this extra person because I'm so nice and I'm a people pleaser. And every time I have a conversation with him, it's like that. And I'm over it. I canvass for him almost every day and knocked on so many houses and did the work. And I know Lacey, you canvassed too, and Nicole, obviously, because me. Oh yeah, I wore the shirt. Instagram. And I just feel like I was used. And when I go to the conferences or press conferences, sorry, I don't get a hello. I don't get anything like that, as if I'm some person that is just beneath. And I'm not. I am not. And I'm a strong person, and I don't need someone's opinion. Anyways, that's a whole other thing. But I agree that no one should be treated like that, especially people who are willing to go out there and do grunt work, go out there and pick up someone who is homeless, go out there and bandage someone's wounds, go out there and serve children. Like my organization is helping children through art because of mental illness. And as a teacher, I've seen a lot of students who healed a lot from art. And I asked for my nonprofit in 2019 to get help, and nothing. And instead they did free art classes this summer, didn't involve me at all. And so anyway, it's very frustrating, and it's hurtful, and it's a waste of energy for people with power to ignore people who are willing to put in the effort and to have a passion and the intelligence and strive that all of you have. So I'm happy that we're getting to speak our truths and how we feel. And I think that's really important to do. So.
Thank you, Mariah. And thank you for sharing that. It looks like we're going to be closing out. I do want to recommend, though, one thing I think is really kind of just really serious for me is to just say, I know, they're pushing for this non-emergency response team and mental health response team. And I just really would urge the city to think about the interactions that they are wanting APD and code enforcement to have with our unhoused community. There's a reason why we want to have that in the first place, right? Because we're trying to limit the interactions between our unhoused friends on the streets and code enforcement and APD. That is really, really serious. If they can really just think about that, that would be great. But thank all of you guys. We're gonna end now. Thank you all for your opinions and thoughts on this conference, and be well. And I know we're all conflicted, and it was a really bad day for us all today, mentally. Just talking to every last one of you individually, we had a really tough day, even though it should have been a great day for getting some of our friends off the street, but it really was tough for the advocates. So thank you guys. Thank you all of you for speaking out, speaking up, being transparent, and attending this meeting tonight. I will end it there. So thank you. See you guys later. See you soon. Love y'all. How do I end this? Okay.